Organism and population. Our living world, our living world is a fascinating, diverse, and amazingly complex. We can try to, to understand its complexity by investigation process at various levels of biological organism, micro macromolecule, cells, tissue, organ, individual organism, population, communities, and ecosystem and biomes. At any level of biology, organism, we can ask two type of question. For example, when we hear the bulbul singing early morning in the garden, we may ask, how do the bird sing? Or why does the bird sing? The how type question seek the mechanism behind the process, while the why type question seek the of significant of process. For the first question in our example, the answer might be in term of operation of the voice box and the vibrating bone in the body in the bird, whereas for the second question the answer may lie in the bird's need to communicate with its mate during breeding season. When you observe nature around you with a significant frame of mind, you will certainly come up with many interesting questions of both certainty come up with many interesting questions of both types. Why are night blooming flowers generally white? How does the bee know which flower has nectar? Why does cactus have so many thorns? How does the chick recognize her own mother? And so on. You have already learned in previous classes that ecology is a subject which study the interaction among organism and between the organism and its physical abiotic environment. Ecology is basically concerned with four levels of biological organization: organism, population, communities, and biomes. In this chapter, we explore ecology at organismic and population level, organism and its environment. Ecology at the organismic level is essentially physiological ecology, which tries to understand how different organisms are adapted to their environment in terms of not only survival but also reproduction. You may have learned in earlier class how the rotation of our planet around the sun and the tilt of its axis cause annual variation in the intensity and duration of temperature, resulting in distinct seasons. This variation together with annual variation in precipitation. Remember, precipitation includes both rain and snow. Account for the formation of major biomes such as desert, rainforest, and tundras. Regional and local variation within each biomes lead to formation of wide variety of habitats. Major biomes of India are shown in 13.2 on planet Earth. Life exists not just in a few favorable habits but even in extreme and harsh habits. Scorching Rajasthan desert, perpetually rain snow Meghalaya forests, deep ocean tracts, torrent streams, preformed polar region, high mountain tops, boiling thermal springs, and stinging composite pits, to name a few. Even our intestine is a unique habitat for hundreds of species of microbes. What are the key elements that lead to so much variation in physical and chemical condition of different habitats? The most important ones are temperature, water, light, and soil. We must remember that physico-chemical abiotic components alone do not characterize the habitat of an organism completely. The habitat include biotic component, also pathogen, parasites, predators, and composite competitors of the organism with which they interact constantly. We assume that over a period of a time, the organism had through natural selection evolved adaptation to optimize its survival and reproduction in its habitat. Major abiotic factor: temperature. Temperature is the most ecological relevant environment factor. You are aware that the average temperature on land varies seasonally, decrease progressively from the equator equator towards the pole, and from the plains to the mountain tops. It ranges from sub-zero level in polar area and high altitude to more than 50 degrees Celsius in tropical desert in summer. There are, however, unique habitats such as thermal springs and deep seas hydrothermal vents where average temperature exceed 100 degrees Celsius. It is general knowledge that mango trees do not and cannot grow in temperate countries like Canada and Germany. Snow leopard are not found in Kerala forests, and tuna fish are rarely caught beyond tropical latitude in the ocean. You can readily appreciate the significance of temperature to living organism when you realize that it affects the kinetics of enzyme and through it as basal metabolism activity and other physiological function of the organism. A few organisms can tolerate and thrive in a wide range of temperature. They are called euthermal, but a vast majority of them are resistant to a narrow range of temperature. Such organisms are called stenothermal. The level of the thermal tolerance of different species determine to a large extent their geographical distribution. You can think a few euthermal and stenothermal animals and plants. In recent years, there was been a growing concern about the gradually increasing average global temperature. Chapter 16. If this trend continues, would you expect the distribution range of some species to a affected? Water. Next to temperature, water is the most important factor influencing the life of organism. In fact, life on earth originated in water and is unsuitable without unsustainable without water. Its availability is so limited in desert that adaptation only special adaptation make it possible to live there. The productivity and distribution of plant is also heavily dependent on water. You might think that organisms living in ocean, lakes and rivers should not face any water related problems, but it is not true. For aquatic organisms, the quality, chemical composition, pH of water become important. The salt concentration measured as a salinity is a part per thousand is less than 5% in inland waters and 30 to 35% the sea and more than 100% in some hypersaline lagoons. Some organisms are tolerant of wide range of salinity, urialine, but others are restricted to a narrow range, stenoaline. Many freshwater animals cannot live for long in seawater and vice versa because of the osmotic problem they would face. Light. Since plants produce food through photosynthesis, a process which is only possible when sunlight is available as a source of energy, we can quickly understand the importance of light for living organisms, particularly autotrophs. Many species of small plants, herbs, and shrubs growing in forest are adapted to photosynthesis optimally under very low light conditions because they are constantly overshaded by tall canopied trees. Many plants are also dependent on sunlight to meet their photoperiodic requirement for flowering. For many animals, too, light is important in that they use the diurnal and seasonal variation in light and duration duration as a cause for timing their foraging, reproductive and migratory activities. The availability of light on land is closely linked with that of the temperature since the sun is a source of for both. But deep in the ocean environment is particularly dark and its inhabitants are not aware of the existence of a crystal source of the energy called sun. What then their source of energy? The spectral quality of solar radiation is also important for life. The UV components of the spectrum is harmful to many organisms. While not all the color components of visible spectrum are available for marginal plants living at a different depth of the ocean. Among the red, green, and brown algae that inhabits the sea, which is likely to be found in the deepest water. Why? Soil. The nature and properties of soil is different places vary. It is dependent on the climate and weathering process, whether whether soil is a transported or sedimentary, and how soil development occurred. Variation characteristics of the soil, such as soil composition, grain size, and aggregation, determine the location, pro pre-location and water holding capacity of the soil. These characteristics, along with parameters such as pH, mineral composition, and topography, determine to a large extent and vegetation in any area. This is in turn indicates the type of animals that can be supported. Similarly, in the aquatic environment, the sediment characteristics often determine the type of benthic animal that can thrive there.